Yes, we all know this is a very, very emotionally and spiritually shifting weekend. And the topic that we developed for this week was almost prophetic because the irony is it was one of the first times that me and Kevin have dialogue about the topic on Friday, the day I shot it over to him. We usually may get to it on Sunday, but it was almost something in the spiritual air that made the conversation about the topic precede the verdict. The second thing is my son, who's about 26 now, who's 26, sent this to me about 6 weeks ago when we was talking about passion and we was talking about accomplishing your purpose. And he said to me, he said, Dad, you know, people cannot really pursue their purpose and their passions if it's off their normal course unless they develop courage. And what you guys are missing is discussing the courage that people need to have in order to accomplish their purpose and change their course. And I said, wow, that was very, very deep. I've got to figure out how to integrate that. He's in law school in Arizona, and so we always dialogue about what we're doing here on the call. Our topic this week, let the dogs out. Let the dogs out. That has so many more metaphorical reasons and statements than it did when I initially wrote this on Friday. Allowing your expectations to chase your passions, developing the courage to fulfill your dreams. It's so unfortunate we don't even have the time to really discuss the magnitude of this topic as it relates to what we are feeling, what we're experiencing, and what we are being revealed. It pains me as I talk to some of the younger people who were born in the 80s and in the 90s this weekend, as they had to come to grips that why those of us who are older have the attitude that we have about what has gone on in historically in African American life. I said you guys have had to finally join hands. Rodney King was a little bit when you guys were young. Now you're seeing it again. We've seen it over and over, so we know this thing. Now you're seeing it in your face. It's not something you can ignore. You cannot just sing and play and hold hands and think that the reality that you like is the reality that you live. Letting the dogs out. I wrote a letter on Facebook. If any of you guys have my Facebook address, you can go on it. I wrote a letter last night as if I was an older 85-year-old white woman and she was perpetually watching her grandkids getting killed. And she pulled her sons and her nephews all in to ask them, have they lost their mind? It's a very powerful letter. I wrote it in the same context, like this is a letter that I imagine that an older senior white woman would write to her sons if they were facing what we were facing. So it may be something you want to check out. Maybe I'll be able to pull it off and then read it before the week is over. But I want us to keep in mind, we have to let the dogs out. We've been holding them in. We've been letting our fears tackle us. We've been letting our insecurities face us. There's something that, again, happened on Friday that I discussed with Kevin about how to really tackle your fears. There was something on YouTube called Jet Man Flies Over the Grand Canyon. And I encourage you to look at that on YouTube because there's a lot of powerful messages and powerful lessons that can be extracted as it relates to removing fear and removing insecurity and the circumstances and the conditions that we have gotten plagued with perpetually, because there's another young brother who got killed in a gas station in Florida just months after Trayvon that we've almost avoided looking at because we can't handle too much pain too quickly and we don't know what to do with it. So we go into the ostrich zone, putting our face in that sand and pretending we don't see it like a bunch of punks because we have not determined how we're going to handle protecting our babies and our children. Over to you, Kevin. I'd like to thank you today for being a part of this message. We'd like to encourage you to communicate with your family. Communicate with your friends. Begin to have dialogue about the truth, about the pain, about the frustration, about the irritation, about the circumstances that affect and plague your life, plague your environment, and plague your conditions. I want you to take a moment to have real, true dialogue, because the things and the circumstances are coming ashore more and more. And the question becomes, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to handle it? How are we willing to change? How are we willing to insulate ourselves? How are we willing to protect ourselves? How are we willing to demonstrate an offense that gives us the statement, both verbally and non-verbally, that you are not going to come upon us and destroy us, and we stand there and sit there at will and allow that to happen? Take a moment to log on to our YouTube channel and leave your questions, your comments, your concerns, your feelings, your sentiment. Leave your spirit, leave your attitude, leave your view. Don't mind leaving your perception of reality and how you see it and how you feel it needs to be seen. Because one thing is for certain, there's an obvious paradigm shift that needs to take place in our community and around our community. And if we have that paradigm shift in our community, then we will create a paradigm shift around and outside of our community. We look forward to bringing you this message of optimism, because no matter how beautiful the dream is, what is the reality? But even though the reality looks dark, our optimism can get great, because we're going to let the dogs out. Oh, we're going to let the dogs out. And we are going to chase our passions for freedom, chase our passions for control, chase our passions for safety, chase our passages for redress of grievances, of plight, blight, pain, hurt, and tears that are affecting our community and that are pervasive in the environment. Looking at positive expectations, we must believe in ourselves. We must see ourselves free, secure, in control, and empowered. And when we develop the positive expectations that reflect those attributes, that reflect those characteristics, that reflect those sentiments, and that reflect those spirits, then we will put together the prescription and take the medicine to give us the change, to get us fortified and prepared to handle our business. Growth and prosperity will be a byproduct of that, because the respect will now come to us. Why? Because we've started respecting ourselves, because we were protecting ourselves. Why? Because we are respected now, because we are securing ourselves. We are insulating ourselves. We are fortifying ourselves. We are building ourselves from the inside, so now it will manifest on the outside. Why? Because you tell others how to treat you by how you treat yourself. Get the drugs out of the community. Get the fear out of the community. Get the weak boys who become weak men out of the community. Build them up. Transform them. Reinvigorate them on what it means to be a black man. Not a black boy. Not a black fool. Not a black gay. But a black man who is committed to teaching, organizing, training his family and his community. And then prosperity will abound. We will then have totally different relationships with many people across the planet. Some of those people who today are our adversaries because of our perpetual and continuous demonstration of weakness will now become our allies in supporting us and to pursue and to secure our strength. Have a great day. Go out and make your life free, happy, and fulfilled. And not only touch the lives of those around you and help them to grow, but yank a brother or two up and say, you can no longer be like this. We don't have the options. We don't have the opportunity. We don't have the resources for you to just be a liability to yourself, a liability to this community, and a liability to those around you while we are being confronted with canines who don't care about us. Have a great and fantastic day. Go out and make your life free and beautiful. Transform, lift others. And we look forward to seeing you next time. This is your friend and brother, Brother Tambuzzi, saying, have a great day and see you next time. Bye-bye.